Hi, Nithya.
Hi, Natalie.
I'm so happy to talk to you.
Likewise, thank you for having me today.
For those of you watching, Nithya Raman is my dear friend of many years. We know each other since college age, and she is spectacular. And lucky for us, she is running for Los Angeles City Council District 4. And I am so excited to get to talk to you today about your visions for our city and for our city's future. And you founded a neighborhood homelessness initiative called Sela. How did that change your perspective on homelessness, and what do you plan to do should you be elected?
Yeah, actually, the thing that shaped a lot of my work on homelessness was actually my time at City Hall in 2014. I worked there and wrote a report that looked at how the city was responding to homelessness and how much they were spending on it. And in the report, we found that the city was spending over $100 million on homelessness, and almost 90% of that, about $87 million, was spent on putting people who were experiencing homelessness in jail, often for 3 nights because they were being arrested for things that they would never actually go to court for. So they were being arrested for things like sitting and sleeping on the street, or for drinking in public, or for having a shopping cart. Really, things that you would call, at best, crimes of poverty, if anything. But this was the city's primary response to homelessness for many, many years. SELA, which I founded in my own neighborhood, was an effort to create a neighborhood level response that put outreach and services first. In my response to homelessness, if I were elected, I think we could do so much better. And I would want to have neighborhood level services with outreach workers and mental health caseworkers who are anchored in every neighborhood, who know every person experiencing homelessness in that neighborhood by name, and who are really tasked with moving those people along what can be a very maze-like path from an encampment into a home. And I believe that if we were to change our model to put outreach and services first, that we would do far better in actually addressing people's needs here in Los Angeles.
That's so moving because I know that it's definitely the top of mind for people like myself who live in your district. In terms of the environmental agenda for our district and for the city, what is your plan?
So one of the things that I find really empowering about thinking about the local as a space for action is how much power we have to take action on issues like climate change or addressing some of our bigger kind of climate issues, even at the local level. So even as we see a federal government that is walking back regulations, even as that feels incredibly disempowering and frightening, at the local level, we actually do have tools, but we haven't used them effectively so far. So I'll talk about a couple of them. In LA, we are uniquely powerful in some ways. We have our own publicly owned utility, the Department of Water and Power, right? So we, as local elected representatives, could tell our Department of Water and Power that we need to get to 100% renewables by 2030. That's the deadline that the UN has given us to, that we need to meet. We've given our DWP far longer, in fact, 20 years later than that, to get to our 100% renewables. I'll talk about one other thing too, because I think a big part of living in Los Angeles is the air. It's not great. It's been getting worse year after year, and after many decades of improvement in our air quality. And a lot of people have talked to me about why that is. So there's a lot of factors that go into our bad air, but one big factor is the Port of LA, which is the largest port in America, I believe. And that too, through a commission, is actually controlled by our city. And we could be using our control over emissions rules at the port to reduce emissions over time from the Port of LA. In fact, our city council has been doing the opposite. They just voted a couple of months ago to walk back some of our emissions regulations at the Port of LA, which directly impacts residents who are clustered around the port, but actually impacts all of the city and really the whole world.
And your campaign has been so exciting and invigorating and just inspiring how differently you can do things, that you don't have to take big money, that you can really have this grassroots feeling. Can you talk about that and about how you came up with that whole strategy?
Yeah, so one of the big issues with our city has been that we've had really low voter turnout for municipal elections, right? And in the past, when our municipal elections have happened, because our voter turnout was so low and the people who generally voted were wealthier and were homeowners, often the policymaking coming out of City Hall didn't reflect the needs of all residents here in LA. And so for me, being part of this election, getting involved in politics, something I never thought I would do, I wanted to do it because I wanted to get more people involved in our local government, right? And so one of the big ways that we do that is by getting people involved as volunteers. So we've really had a volunteer first campaign. We've recruited, at this point, over 1,000 volunteers. So in that sense, we are really a campaign that is built on people power. And so that's exactly what we've done. We haven't taken a single corporate dollar. We've raised money from a range of donors, many of whom live in the district, many of whom live in the city, and who care deeply about the future of Los Angeles. And we've actually proved that this model can work because we, in the last filing, outraised an incumbent who was taking lots of corporate money. So we're showing that a new kind of politics is really possible in Los Angeles.